Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Space Coast Progressive Alliance first Thursday of the month event. Tonight, I am sitting on behalf of our keynote or our signature spokesperson, Phil Stasek. He's unavailable, and we'll try to fill in his shoes. He always keeps this program engaging, and we'll do our best. We have a great program, environmental injustice in Florida. I think it's a very important subject. We hope that we can deliver enough information for everyone to be educated on this subject. And we have two great speakers with us tonight, and we'll get to that at one point. But before we start the program, I'd like to introduce our president, Karen Houston, just for some housekeeping notes, and we'll go back and we'll go through the program. So Karen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Raed, and good evening, everyone. So happy to be here tonight. I hope that everyone's happy to be here as well. I hope that you'll learn something from this program. First, I want to give thanks to Ellen Jones, Larry Abdullah, and the Action Projects Committee. They're the ones that bring these programs to you every month, and it's a difficult task sometimes, bring people down that are busy. But I thank the Action Projects Committee for all the hard work that they do. Our chair is Janice Moran, and so we're going to go on and tell you a little bit about our next event that's coming up on May 2nd. It's entitled Voucher Vultures. And it's all about school vouchers. We're gonna have some good speakers on that. Devouring Public Schools. That's Thursday, May 2nd. So we hope that you all will join us. There's a lot going on with the voucher system that's happening right now. And we want you to be able to look at this program and other things and find out more about SCPA. And you can do that by going to scpaflorida.com, and that's Florida spelled out, scpaflorida.com. And after this program has aired, you'll be able to find this on YouTube. So if you're not able to make it tonight, if you know someone who wants to see what happened, they can go back to YouTube and find out what was said and done on this event. So I don't see Carol. So this is when our treasurer, Carol Becker, usually comes in and invites people to join SCPA. And I don't see Carol, so I guess I'll just ask you myself. If you're interested in SCPA, you can go to scpaflorida.com and sign up. You can join us. I don't have in front of me the PO box, but if you go there, it's a pretty easy process. And we're always looking for new members. It's $25 for single membership. I think is it $35, I believe, for family. Yes. Yep. So we'll welcome anyone. We need people to help to join us up with us and help us to make this continue to keep this this SCPA Florida going strong. So we hope that we can get some of you here to join us, and let's make a big push for everything all the different programs that we put out there. And everybody that's on the panel, we always ask to give us an action item. Once you sit here and you listen to them, it's no use if you don't do something with it, all the information that they provide us. So we're asking that our speakers tonight give us an action item and allow us to go back and to our families and our community and spread the word about what you had to say tonight. And I'm going to give it back to Raed right now. Go ahead, Raed. I'm going to give it back to you for now.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. All the hard work that you guys do. I'm on the board as well. I'm also an ex-president, and I know what you do for Space Coast Progressive Alliance, and we appreciate you. And just to jump into this program, we have two amazing speakers with big background. One that been evolving. We know we have Yvonne Minus, a lot of people, of course, are aware of the name and her contribution in Brevard County. Also, we have an executive director, Camille Hadley, with the Little Growers Incorporation. She's also going to be a speaker. We were going to have both of them speak. Ms. Hadley speak first, and then Ms. Minus speak after. But Ms. Minus is out of town, and she's committed to another program. So they both agreed that we will allow Ms. Minus to speak first. And so before I introduce Ms. Yvonne Minus, I just want to say that your contribution to in Brevard County has been tremendous. And usually, in general, before we start the program, we open the program to a 1 or 2 minute announcements. And so I would like to maybe ask Ms. Minus to start with. I know you have an announcement to share with everyone, and Ms. Hadley, if you want to come after that, and then we'll open it to the floor. Anybody is welcome to share any public announcement before we start the program. So can we start with Ms. Minus? Do you have an announcement for us?
Oh, yes, and thank you, and good evening, everyone. Okay, definitely, I have great news that I'd like to share. If you have not heard already, that I am running for Brevard County Commissioners for District 3, where Commissioner John Tobias is sitting now. He's also turned out, so he's moving on. So I'm moving into his position. You heard me say I'm moving into his position. So I definitely am soliciting your support. And if you would take down this website, it is YvonneMinus.org, first and last name.org. You can go on and you can find out pretty much anything about me. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call. The number on there, I guess the government is kind of slow about getting it to work, but I can be reached at 321-591-7054, 321-591-7054. That is my personal cell phone. As you can see, I got it right here. It's always glued to my hip. So again, the website is YvonneMinus.org, and I definitely appreciate your support. And anyone would like to canvas or phone banking or anything like that. So Kendra Thompson and I, she's running for the Melbourne City Council, vacating my seat. I'm vacating my seat, and I'm in total support of her. And you will see us out canvassing, because I will be working from downtown Melbourne to, I call it south of the border, which is Miko, to the Sebastian Bridge. So that is a lot of area to cover. There's Melbourne, most of Palm Bay, part of West Melbourne, Grant Vacaria, Barefoot Bay, and Miko. So definitely, and the Barrier Islands from Melbourne Beach down. So definitely, if you'd like to help me, I definitely solicit your support. And thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Ms. Minus, and we appreciate all your contribution to this county for the past years. I know you're very supportive of our organization all along. We've been invited many times, and we appreciate you, and we wish you good luck. We're a nonpartisan organization, of course, but this is the floor to introduce anyone who wants to share any information. Anybody else? Ms. Hadley, do you have anything you want to share before we start?
If I can jump in, Ida invited me to come on to provide a status, an update of the Right to Clean Water Amendment. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yeah, can we, Mr. Thomas, can you just give us a minute? We have Ms. Hadley on the queue, and you'll come in after her.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to forget you.
Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Hadley.
Vice Mayor Yvonne Minus actually just shared a little bit about what I was going to share, which is that I am also supporting Kendra Thompson, who is running for City Council for the City of Melbourne, District 3, which is currently Vice Mayor Yvonne Minus's seat. And she has been very supportive of Kendra, and we want to continue to give her that support and love. And if you are looking to support a candidate who cares about the City of Melbourne, who cares about the future of the City of Melbourne, then Kendra is definitely that candidate. And I'm so very proud to be her campaign manager. You can visit her website at thompsonformelbourne.com and learn more about her initiatives for the City of Melbourne and how you can join her campaign as a volunteer or a donor. We need all the love and support we could get. Kendra cares about this community and she takes care of this community. And we want to see her in that seat because we know that's where she's destined to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Hadley. Sorry, apologize, Mr. Smith. Was on Mr. Smith, right? Next.
Thomas Perez.
Tom Perez from the
Okay.
Right to Clean Water campaign.
Yeah, just a few minutes ago, I received an email from Ida telling me about the meeting and if I could make I guess, an update of what's been happening. So I was
Please.
trying to get your attention because unfortunately, I have another meeting to run off to. Anyway, some of you I know a little bit about this. Janice Moran has been involved helping us out. But we have a new state constitutional amendment for Floridians to have a right to clean and healthy water that just came out on March 8th. Unfortunately, the old one did not make it. We were far short of the required number. And as I'll explain a little bit, it'll be understood why. This is a grassroots effort. We started a couple of years back, and not even with 2 years, we had to start growing a grassroots organization from 1 person to 2 people, getting the funds to print out petitions and try to spread out through a whole state. So I think it becomes clear, why we didn't make roughly 1 million petitions that we needed to have, 891 accepted by the supervisor of elections. So we did manage to collect about 120,000, and we were kind of a little put out by that. And then we found out from professionals, we started turning to trying to figure out why, things worked out the way they did. And we found out that what we did was short of amazing, collecting 120,000 petitions. That 10,000 would have been quite impressive. So now we have a couple of individuals that will be salaried to provide us with some of this professional help that we need. And we have the infrastructure in place that was created from the first attempt, as well as, the volunteers and the social media and everything that goes into it. And we're growing that continuously. So we are in a much better place and very confident that we will make this next round. But obviously, it's still going to take a lot of work, and we need everybody to do just a little bit. The website is FloridaRightToCleanWater.org, one word, and you can get lots of information there, the petition there. I have petitions that I'm willing to bring, a stack of petitions to anybody who, is interested in collecting petitions or has an organization, a group of people that would like to do so. If you have any questions, I'll answer them because there's a lot to tell. And I know this is supposed to be brief, and that way I can focus on what you need to know.
I think it's very disappointing what you said at the beginning, that it did not pass, and we would like to know more information about it. It's just that the program today is about it's a different topic. Maybe we can schedule a different time. What if you want to hang on to the end? I know you said you're going to go. We can allow you.
Sure,
to
you have my information.
more
Contact me, and we can set up another time.
So that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Tom, maybe you could put your email in the chat so people can
Sure.
contact you directly.
The chat is closed to anybody but the co-host, so,
Okay. I have it. I'll do it.
okay. Yeah, you-
Okay, I know Jan has my email, Janice Moran.
Yes.
So you've got it.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll distribute and we'll share the information on our website, and hopefully you can you can stick around and answer any question later on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody? You're welcome. Anybody else with any public announcements?
May I ask a question, please?
Please go ahead.
Okay, I heard about the membership for the SCPA. Do you have, what is it, Zelle, Cash App, or how could I, or a check? And who do I make it out to?
You'll be able to, if you go to the website, you can just click
Oh.
on renew or you just becoming a new member. It's simple. You'll be able to do it on the website.
Yeah. scpaflorida.com.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. I've been a friend for many years, so yeah, I need to make it legal.
Would love to have you. Would love to have you a member of. I mean, we have a lot of followers.
Mhm.
Usually in over 1,000 followers.
Mhm.
We have in the membership a good number, over 100. So, but Space Coast Progressive Alliance has a lot of followers in Brevard County, and would love to have you join officially. Thank you.
And it's also in the chat. Thank you, Nellie.
yeah, you're welcome.
Nellie
All
Cardinal
right.
keeps us up with the chat.
So let's get back to environmental injustice in Florida. I mean, this subject truly is very crucial, and I want to thank Ellen again and Larry Abdul for put this in front of us and give us the opportunity to learn more. I mean, we're going to embark on a crucial panel discussion today, dissecting this intricate dynamics and racism in the climate and environmental issues. And I know we have also Vice Mayor Yvonne Minus, which will speak first. She will be speaking about the rail and how it affects how is that is an issue, the Bright Line highway speed train, and how it affects already our community and the risk that's involved with it. But before we turn the mic to Ms. Yvonne Minus, I want to just let you know that Ms. Minus was elected as first Black female to Melbourne City Council in 2016 and was appointed to serve as Vice Mayor in 2023. Ms. Mayor was served as the Vice Mayor in November 2017 and 2018. She was initially appointed to the City Council in January 2014, and she served from January 2014 until November 2016 election. With Mr. Minus, husband James Minus, good friend of mine as well, married for 19 years, a lot of children, 2 children, and I know one passed away, and always see her. So when you remind us of her passing, but you have 7 good grandchildren and 1 beautiful great granddaughter. So we welcome you to our program, and we would love to have you, as I said earlier, join our organization. And let's give you the floor and share your input on the train and the issues that are associated with it.
Thank you, Wyatt. I really appreciate it, and I want to again thank Ms. Camille for allowing me to skip the line. First and foremost, I want to thank each of you for being present here this evening and for supporting the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. And their mission is to spread awareness about the issues that affect our community as a whole. And I want to thank Progressive Alliance for everything that they're doing to let their light shine in the community on our critical issues. As you are aware, we have a very, very fast and interesting thing that travels through our community approximately 32 times a day. That's 16 times going north and 16 times going south. And you can imagine what that is, and that's Brightline. In late 2022 until September 2023, Brightline conducted hundreds of qualifying test runs. You can see it running up and down the railroad tracks before it was official, running through Brevard County, preparing for that great day on when they were going to be operational officially. So in September 2023, the rail expansion to Terminal C, that's at the Orlando International Airport, it was complete, and they also had a very, very nice grand opening and all. It was just really breathtaking. And so the trains began running. It was operational for the riderships. I would encourage you, if you haven't, I'd hate for you to go all the way down to Miami or all the way to Orlando to get a test run. But it is that right now, that is on the way, on the places that you can get on board. Since they've been fully operational, they've had a number of very unfortunate incidents and accidents and deaths that have taken place, more specifically within the district that I represent. I won't say it's my district because it doesn't belong to me. It is the district that I represent. So regardless of who led those incidents or accidents occurring, as an elected official, I am trusted with working to provide solutions that address critical problems that's plaguing our community. With that being said, I began immediately working with our city staff and with Brightline and their representatives to come up with a plan to keep our residents safe in the community. In those discussions that we had at City Hall, in the city manager's office and other areas in City Hall, it was a pronged approach that was presented. It was very touching to me after all of with the two accidents that we had. The first one I'm really still emotional about it, about those accidents. The first one is a short-term solution where we immediately install the traffic delineators on W.H. Jackson. And if you recall, that is where both of those train wrecks happened, on W.H. Jackson. So that immediately we put those delineators so that you would not be able to go around the arms, the quarter arm, and then it was 3 full arms. And that took place on a Thursday. And by that Monday morning, they were up. Okay, the engineers were out there installing those. I made it very clear that I wanted that done immediately. I didn't care what it costs. And I knew that Brightline was gonna pay for it. So they immediately did that. The second short-term solution was installing a red light cameras, and that is also, those are there, okay, at a few of the crossings throughout Melbourne. While this is not a physical deterrence, that you can still go around it, as it happened with the accidents. The goal was to crack down on that, those trying to circumvent the gate. and trying to beat the train. And heaven knows, unfortunately, that happened. While Brightline is, they're not legally responsible or authorized to issue traffic citations for you going around the rail, but they'll send a warning to you, just like, you know, on your SunPass. I don't know, SunPass, they send you a ticket or a warning. I can't remember which one I got, but I got one. I was in a rental car. But the subsequent offenses will occur, then you will get a warning, in the mail that will be sent to that address of that owner. Okay, so definitely, please try to adhere to it so you won't get a citation, and eventually you'll get a ticket. The second one is the medium term. We discussed looking at a potential grant and funding an opportunity to increase the safety of each of the crossings. One of the particular grant dollars that would be accessible in the near future are what we call raised grant funding. Brightline is able to secure, guess what, $25 million in funding from USDOT, from federal dollars, and match that with 20 million from FDOT, from Florida Department of Transportation, and Brightline funding. So that is a total of a whopping $45 million. That's a lot, and yet it is not enough. This funding will allow from supplemental safety measures to take place at the 328 grade crossings throughout Florida. The scope of the work will include delineators, raised pavements, and some of our crossings have raised pavement markers, edge striping, fencing, and additional safety signage. We have a lot of that now, but at those where the accident happened, that's not there. The long-term goal is, while we appreciated both the short-term and the medium-term solutions, I was very aggressive with Brightline that I wanted greater safety measures at each of the crossings, such as having quad gates, which are all 4 gates instead of 3.5, to prevent anyone from going around the arm. I also proposed about the raised medians, and so it felt like it was less expensive and the money would go farther if we did the delineators first. More significantly, I made them aware as I had analyzed each crossing, as I was at those sites during those tragic accidents. I noticed that there were 5 crossings in Melbourne that did not have the quad gates installed. And guess what? And you probably know it already. 4 out of 5 of those are located in the low-income neighborhoods. W.H. Jackson, Jernigan, Prospect, and Masterson. Masterson is in North Melbourne. And as you would know, yes, those are in the low-income neighborhoods. That is a red light, a blaring red light to me. I don't know if that's on purpose or by design, but definitely either way, now they know how I feel. They know how the city feels. The city is supporting me in this project, and it needs to be, we need to keep our residents safe. And I stressed aggressively that I want this done as soon as possible. Now, working with the government, we know everything takes time and years. This initiated us having a conversation about utilizing additional funding through the FRA railroad crossing, with the elimination of the grant program to include the raised medians and the quad gates at those 5 crossings that don't currently have them at all. The grant application process for this will take 6 months, at least 6 months, and then another 3 months for approval or denial from our application, and then another 9 to 12 months to complete the installation. So unfortunately, this can take 2 to 3 years before this comes to fruition. I voiced my displeasure in that. I explained that I hope with the delineators that will help, but there are definitely more safety measures needed sooner and quicker. And so we're holding them accountable to ensure that they are keeping our safety in the forefront of their minds. Okay, now, lastly, I want to say that I think that Brightline is definitely a game changer for our community. It would help to keep our cars off the roads, which is definitely good. If you are on 95 or Wickham Road, definitely a help. And it would decrease in the road maintenance. It's cleaner for our air, for our environment, and more convenient for people to commute. You can just sit back and relax, and it's not Greyhound, but you can leave the driving to them. Okay, and now on the flip side of this, there are cons such as the effects that the rail construction has on our vegetation. If you notice, while they were building the rails, especially on the north end, the Cocoa 528 corridor, our wildlife and the horn sounds and all of that is just driving everybody crazy. I get calls all the time about the loud horns, about how fast they're going through the neighborhood, and that, you know, what can be done. Okay, it's been proven that communities with ample resources have stood to gain the most from high-speed rails. You can look at Europe and Asia and others for those for good examples. This reality leaves low-income and minority communities in the dust due to the environmental and economic implications of these trains. High-speed trains come hand in hand with air and noise pollution, with constructions and maintenance causing negative effects to our quality and nearby ecosystems. We will continue to work very hard to find solutions for the betterment of our community and the neighborhood, and especially for Melbourne, because I live in Melbourne, but for Brevard County. I would like to add also that most recently, if you read in the newspaper about we may have a stop in cocoa. So that is in the pipeline now. I think the ink is almost dry on that. So we will have a stop in Brevard County. Unfortunately, I tried very hard working with FDOT and Brightline, trying to get it in Melbourne because of our airport. We have the UK coming in with 350,000 passengers all the time. So we thought that would work, but with the Space Center and the Cape and Disney, Mickey and Minnie, we did not win that. However, they are working very hard on our Ellis Road interchange from 95. So Brightline is here to stay. It is, I won't say not going away, but I do know that it will be here for many, many, many years to come. So more especially, my main point is that I'm working, and as top priority for me, to make sure that those quad gates that we have, 4 gates down for those 4 out of 5 intersections. We've had 2 or 3 who decided suicide by Brightline, and these 2 major accidents where they ran around the guardrails. So none of those were Brightline's fault, but the common denominator there is Brightline. But please continue to keep be safe. Please I just twinge every time I get on a track or get close to one, you know, to make sure that everything is clear on both sides, whether the arms are down or not. So I just ask you to just please be safe. And with that, I thank you. I thank my good friend, the president, Ms. Karen Houston, and to this great organization, Space Coast Progressive Alliance. Raed, I definitely, you know, we talked back and forth for several days, emails and all, and I definitely was going to hold true to my commitment. And I appreciate y'all your patience with me in my new task here.
I appreciate your time. We're really honored to have you join us and share this important information. I know we have another commitment, and I just want to see if there's an opportunity to. I have a lot of questions. I'm sure the audience and whoever is joining us have some question for you. Since you're going to be leaving us, do you mind if we just open the floor to a few questions?
Oh, definitely.
I'm
sorry. Definitely, yes. I would take on some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Usually we don't do it this in this way, but I do want to take the opportunity, and I'll start with mine quickly. It's unfortunate to see that the death, of course, in any scenarios, but having the pros and cons, and you mentioning that there were some suicidal part reasoning in there. Are we learning from other communities where they have trains pass through and applying some of their safety measures? And the second question is slowing the speed down to have a stop in Melbourne. I mean, they obviously working on Coco, but for us, the residents of Melbourne, it's going to be very, very hard for me to drive all the way to Orlando to get on the train. I mean, Coco, maybe it'll be easier, but it is very important that they would also stop in Melbourne, you know, with the airport being there. So do you think there is a chance in the future, and might slow down the speed to allow people to, you know, to get on and solve some of the issues that you brought up?
Okay, thank you, Ray. Those are good questions. First, let me answer the Coco question first. Definitely, Coco will be getting the train stop. almost the ink is dry on that. The speeds of the train, and I think that's come up to have one in Melbourne as well, thinking that it would slow up the train. The whole purpose of having the speed trains is so that they can speed and get to Orlando. Now, when those accidents happen, the trains was going at 79, 80 miles an hour versus the 120, 125 that it does on the straightway going to Orlando. So yeah, those trains, the speed is slow. They have not mentioned that it would go any slower, but I believe going through those neighborhoods, it is 79 to 80. Okay, wow. And so that's what we were told. So that's
is there so there's no timeline on Melbourne. There's no discussion at all right now. There's no on a stop.
No, there's nothing in the pipeline about getting a stop in Melbourne, unfortunately. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? If you can raise your hand, we'll open the mic for a question for Vice Mayor before she leaves us. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Larry.
Hi, Yvonne. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Mr. Larry.
And remember, I was there that day, one day. I heard all of you, and I talked to somebody else, answered my questions about the train. And let me just say first that I'm for high-speed rail when it's done right. And you recall on that day there was a lady who was a train expert coming from South Florida. Do you recall her name?
No, I do not. I remember her being there though. I don't know if she was an expert, but I know she was very knowledgeable.
Well, and so and again, I really, whether the stuff, Melbourne would be nice. I'm a Melbourne pretty much resident too, but Coco's all right. I drive up to Coco if I can get a ride to Orlando or West Palm that way, So, but the questions remain. A couple of questions that I have, and I don't know how many years away that Coco stop would be, though. Do we speculate on that? And then the other question is about the quad gates. Why would it take 2 years to get quad gates up? And those quad gates, those double gates, do tend to be, like Jackson is a African-American neighborhood. I mean, they do tend to be in poorer neighborhoods where those double gates and not quad gates were. And so why would it take 2 years to get quad gates up on some of these intersections? I mean, if Rightline is cooperating, that's one. Two, and so, yeah, one is the timing to get a stop, because I think it would be great to have a stop. I hope that if there are stops here, that maybe they would slow down too, because that train expert lady who was there, she said that, the 100 accidents, she said, well, I've read that have happened between Orlando and West Palm since it started, that this is one of the highest density number of accidents trains in the country per mile. And so the reason is that, yes, not in the 125 mile an hour zone, because that was custom tracks, but in the 80 mile an hour zone through relatively densely populated areas. So again, repeating what Rod said about slowing down, how many years to the quad gates and how many years to Coco?
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, to my knowledge, I don't know how long it's gonna take for Coco, since the ink just dried on that last week. that it, it became official, and I say it was leaked out before then. But then it is official that, they will be coming to Cocoa. I don't know, but I can find out. I know it's gonna be it's gonna be a while for them to build, build the station, build the building and all of that. So it's kind of hard for me to say. I don't know. So, and what was your other question?
Really, why would it take 2 years to get quad gates at those intersections?
Okay, it's
federal funding, but
right. Okay, thank you for reminding me. It's not going to take the 2 to 3 years for the quad gates. I think they were doing a study. They will study that area to see if a light. I think they planning on putting a red light there at that intersection. So that is going to take the 9 to 12 months, or longer for them to study it, and then they'll put the red light. So I think that red light there at Jernigan would help, to help deter, what's going to happen, or trying to get across the railroad tracks, or trying to go left, go north on to US 1. So, but that is, I think, where the 2 to 3 years, and hopefully it doesn't take that long. Okay, it doesn't take that long. I don't, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, but I'm staying on that.
Thank you. Any other question for Ms. Minus?
See, Miss Janice
Thank
has her
you.
hand up.
I do. I don't mean to make any assumptions, but I cannot imagine why anybody in their right mind would try to beat a train in their car. It is just not a very smart thing to do. And I was wondering if Brightline or the state is preparing to put together some kind of educational program that could be shown in high schools to kids that are going through driver's training, in churches or somewhere else, to talk about the detriment of trying to beat a train. To me, it's kind of an educational issue. And perhaps down here in Florida, people are not as used to trains as they may be in other parts of the country. In the area where I lived for a long time, people just knew better than trying to beat a train. So that's my question. Are they doing anything educationally about this?
I can say that after, I guess, the second accident that Brightline was at the intersection, the downtown intersection of where there was not an accident, but it was a high traffic area. They were passing out flyers on Brightline, and they did mention about the education aspect of it. They, like you said, can't understand why anyone would want to do that, but evidently they had ulterior motives, and that's, in my opinion, of trying to get across the tracks, trying to beat the train, not realizing that that was a Brightline train and not a regular commercial train. I mean, the other train that was coming through there. So Brightline is 3 times as fast as the regular train, the FEC train. And so I don't know how many times they had tried that before, but that was definitely the wrong move to make.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you do any other question? I know this is an important, and I'm glad you're taking on this.
I see someone named Rumika has her hand up.
Yeah, and Bonnie Ida too has her hand up.
Go ahead, Ruika.
Hi, yes. Hi, good evening. Hi, Vice Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I have a question. You were, when you were talking about the 3 different levels of precaution being rolled out, short term, medium term, long term, you gave us a price which was $45 million. Is that throughout the line, that Brightline runs throughout Florida, or is that 45 million to get those precautions just for Brevard County?
No, that is for the whole total project of Brightline, not just the 45. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but no, it is for all of Brightline, if you will. Yeah, I hate that. I wish it was at least half anyway.
Thank you.
So my question is just about how this happened, and it's not a very productive question, but I'm curious. In some letter to the editor, somebody pointed out that to build a highway, there are these solid concrete walls that protect a highway. They don't go nearly as fast as, in other words, 95 is well put to individuals are completely protected from high speed like that. Whereas a train went right through, the decision to have it go right through dense neighborhoods just seemed so odd that everybody agreed to it. And I just wondered why they didn't fight harder to get it somewhere out of the area where people are likely to, well, I've been at the crossing when it was malfunctioning, and I actually just turned around and left. But since then, I've checked, I've read that, well, they have an emergency phone number on it. I've checked and haven't seen that emergency phone number. I mean, there's so many eventualities that can contribute to the dangerous spot. So I just curious about your input on that. Both aspects, both how this passed. Somebody said the city councils approved of it, and that's how it happened. The choice of where the bright line would be placed.
The city council, they brought it to city council, but there was nothing that we could do about it. There was nothing about, none of the municipalities in Brevard County, there are 16 municipalities. Brightline was coming through, and there was nothing, we could do. They were letting us know that, hey, this is coming through. Now, the fact that they didn't put it near 95 or near any of the others, the tracks are already there. So that, they, I won't say modified or, instead of building more tracks, which would have taken much, much longer, the tracks are already there. So that's why. And I think at Prospect, I think the tracks were down like 2 years. Versus, it would have been much, much longer, if they had to build the tracks. So that's why.
Okay. They do it elsewhere. You see it happen all the time. You never hear about passing through busy neighborhoods like that. Anyway. Thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other hands?
I wish they didn't go through. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is there any other hand? I don't see it. I'm on my phone. I don't see anybody raising any other questions.
I don't see any others. And Raed, and I know that Vice Mayor Minus has to leave. I think she's beyond her time too. So
yeah, well, I mean, if it's one more or one or two more, I'm already late, so okay. I just want to get there before the presentation.
No, we won't keep you any longer. We appreciate your, and we really wish you the best of luck in your new endeavor. Hopefully, this topic that you're discussing, I'm glad you're on it, and hopefully we get some fruitful decisions out through you. And best of luck. Thank you again. I know everyone appreciates your time. We would all be clapping if we weren't, as always Phil say, if we are in live.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming in, and hopefully we'll see you again in other programs.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I want to say, hey, to my hunk husband, I see him on James Minus. So I was he's back home. So
James,
thank you, right? Thank you, Madam President, and to everyone. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Karen. So Karen, I'll send it back to you. I want you, if you don't mind, take it over. I know it's Ramadan. I have to step on the side. So if you want me to introduce Camille, or you
please, because I don't have the
okay, sounds good. No, I mean I'm
just do the bio. I can take it over after that.
Absolutely. Camille Hadley, we're really happy, and I know you're under with the weather. and I can feel it in your voice, but we appreciate you coming in and presenting your input on this topic. I know Camille Hadley is very active in Brevard County, but she is a dedicated professional, originally from Compton, California. I know she has a bachelor's degree in business management, specializing in marketing from California State University, Dominguez Hills. Camille now holds esteemed roles, including Wisdom Keeper for Women's Earth Alliance. I know Camille's commitment earned her the Martin Luther King Award and recognition as the most improved faith-based organizer. She was nominated, Ms. Camille, in the top 12 for the Leadership Brevard for Under 40 Award in 2024. Great achievement. Camille co-founded Little Growers Incorporation in Brevard County and is a vital member of the Leadership Council for Anthropocene Alliance, I hope I pronounced it correctly, since 2019. Camille was one of 22 women in the United States, including Guam, to win the first U.S. Accelerator Award for the Women Earth Alliance and Sierra Club. A lot of accomplishment. I can't wait to hear your input on this subject. Camille, you have the floor, and I will be listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Space Coast Progressive Alliance, for inviting me to speak tonight. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I apologize in advance for my raspy voice. Unfortunately, I am just getting over strep throat, actually, but still so very excited to be here with you this evening and discuss the topic of environmental justice, because it's so near and dear to my heart and something that I deeply, deeply care about. So yeah, if I can screen share, I just have a little presentation that I'd like to be able to share with everybody as I talk you through my experience as an environment and climate justice leader, not just here in Brevard County, but my work is often national. I've had the opportunity to speak to FEMA in their climate summits. I've done a panel for the White House. I've worked with the Anthropocene Alliance, as Raid mentioned, which is a national organization of environmental and climate justice leaders. I was actually Little Growers Inc., which is the organization that I co-founded with my husband, was one of the first 5 leaders in the Anthropocene Alliance, which is now up to 150 climate and environmental justice leaders across the nation. So I'm just really excited to be able to talk to you about environmental justice and the work that I'm doing here in Brevard County to address solutions for environment and also climate and food justice, which is very much what Little Growers, my organization, and our work is about. So I'm gonna just skip over this part because you heard all about me. That's enough. You all need to know more, and you can look it up. But Little Growers, I always say that we are not just a nonprofit organization. We're a movement. Our work was really founded by my husband and I when we were residents in Northeast Palm Bay in the Powell Driscoll subdivision, which just is it's south of Florida Avenue, but near to the Bright Line track as well. We were raising our 4 sons, and you can see a picture of them when they were a little younger up there in the corner in the Powell Driscoll subdivision when we moved back here in 2015. And during that time, we noticed that they were beginning to behave badly in school, and we were all kind of gaining a lot of weight. We had just moved back here from Los Angeles, and we knew that food was the problem. And we didn't have a car like most of the people that lived in our community. So we didn't have transportation to the nearest grocery store, which actually was just the Walmart, the neighborhood Walmart, which we couldn't count on the neighborhood Walmart for fresh organic food like we were getting home in California. Just walking distance from our home, we were near to a farmer's market. We always had fresh access there. And so my husband, who has a historically green thumb, I always tell people, I just push the paperwork. He grows all the food. But he and I decided together that we wanted to grow food to take care of our family and make sure that we were living a healthier lifestyle here in Brevard County, and within the Powell Driscoll subdivision, which we learned was a food desert community. And as we began to grow food, you see our first broccolis, and that is my youngest son, Malcolm, when he was about 3 years old. We noticed that the kids in the community were also excited about the things that they saw us growing in pots. Now, because the soil in that neighborhood was very sandy, pots were the best option for us, but they worked well. And when the kids in the community became excited about it, my husband and I decided that we wanted to start Little Growers Inc. as a way to educate our community about growing healthy food and giving them access and food sovereignty. But then in 2019, Hurricane Irma hit, and our community was flooded for 3 weeks. And that flooding actually wiped out a good majority of the food that we were producing in the community. We had gone from growing food in pots to producing food at a garden for Club Esteem at the Eddie Lee Taylor Community Center. And now we were dealing with all of this flood water that just sat in our community for weeks on end. And we had to rethink the way that we were doing food security and food justice. So just a little more about Little Growers. That's kind of the history of how we got started. But ultimately, our goal is to empower our youth. I apologize, my puppy is making noise in the background. Our mission and our goal is to empower youth in our community to be in control of their own future through community food security, sustainability, and leadership development. I'm sorry, you guys. If you don't mind, I'm going to mute myself for just 1 second so I can get someone to take this dog out. I sincerely apologize. I'm so sorry about that. You know, we have our little puppy children, and they just behave however they want to, and she wants to go outside. So I just called my son to come and get her, and she'll be out of our hair shortly. But yeah, our mission and our vision is largely focused on educating the future of our community, which is our youth, and their future depends on them being educated about healthy lifestyles, sustainable lifestyles, environment, and climate all at the same time, because that is a future that they have to look forward to. So that is a future that Little Growers has grown to have to focus on as a result of our experience through what happened to us during Hurricane Irma, and having to rethink the way that we were addressing food and climate and environmental justice within our own communities. So, as I mentioned, our work is largely at the intersection of food justice, environmental justice, and climate justice. And I always tell people that you cannot separate these things. In order to have environmental justice, you have to have food justice, you have to have climate, you have to address climate justice and climate change, because all of these things work together. As our climate is increasingly hotter, it's harder for communities, even farmers, to produce food that you eat every day, that you purchase in the grocery store. And living in a community like the Powell Driscoll subdivision, we also learned through our growth in the work that we did that we were largely impacted by corporate toxins. Many communities across this nation, particularly overburdened, underrepresented communities of color, indigenous communities, face environmental justice issues like the preponderance of corporate pollution within their communities, chemicals. And if you see this little moving map in the corner, that is our story map. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that as I move through the work that we've been doing with little growers. But this story map is just a project that we worked on as our work grew in addressing environmental justice, because we wanted to identify the toxicity within our community as we began to think about how are we going to plant food in a way that we can combat climate change and address food security in our community when we are dealing with toxicity all at the same time. So as you can see on this map, the little pictures there where you see Little Growers logo, those are places where Little Growers has intent on placing community gardens. But within 1 mile of those spaces are a brownfield site, a Superfund site, FAR chemical plant, Republic Service waste transfer station, the Brightline high-speed train that you just heard about, the Stone Middle School bus yard compound that's leaking diesel fuel into the community's groundwater, and Glover Oil. All of this toxicity is within 1 mile of where Little Growers plans to plant its future community gardens. So we developed this map as a way to kind of identify the proximity of toxicity for the community and the ground flow of the water that is coming off of those sites. And I'll share with you all later the link and show you a little broader image of how you can access that map. But in addition to dealing and addressing with that toxicity in our community, we also had to deal with the flooding that we were experiencing, the issues of food insecurity. So we recognized as an organization that in order for us to address food security, that we also had to address these multifaceted issues that our community was facing. And I don't know if you guys can hear this video, but this is just a video a clip of a video that I recorded with a project that I'm working on in West Cocoa, a community that is also largely African American historical community that is dealing with similar issues to the issues that we're dealing with here in Northeast Palm Bay and South Melbourne around flooding and noise pollution, like the noise pollution that is experienced from this high-speed train. This community is actually very near to the sheriff's compound, and they're experiencing noise pollution because the sheriffs have a shooting range. So this video just talks a little bit about that. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to make it go back. Okay.
Volume is extremely low, Camille. I don't know if anybody else can hear it, but I can't.
I can't hear it at all.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'll skip the video for now, and I'll share the link with you all later so that you can go back and look at it. But I want to just circle back to environmental justice because that's what this presentation today is really about. And as many of you know, the federal government has released billions of dollars in funding to support what they call EJ communities across the nation. And they defined environmental justice through the EPA, actually, the Environmental Protection Agency, as a means to the just treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of income, race, color, national origin, tribal affiliation, or disability in agency decision-making and other federal activities that affect human health and environment, so that people are fully protected from disproportionate and adverse human health and environmental effects, including risks and hazards, including those related to climate change, the cumulative impacts of environmental and other burdens, and the legacy of racism or other structural or systematic barriers, and have equitable access to a healthy, sustainable, and resilient environment in which to live, play, work, learn, grow, worship, and engage in cultural and substances practices. And so this is another map to the right of this. This is actually like a cartoon version of the larger, more detailed map, which is a GIS map that you will all be able to access later, and has great detail about the toxins that are faced by the community here in South Melbourne and now in Northeast Palm Bay. But I originally created this map because I thought that, imagine if you had to look at this as a kid living in this community, a cartoon of trash going into your watershed, of toxicity, oil, air pollution, all happening in the very place where you were digging your hands in the soil to grow healthy food, to feed your grandmother, your mother, your brothers and sisters, your uncles, and you knew that you were growing this food in an unhealthy environment. So I wanted to be able to explain to the children who were growing up in this community that they had the opportunity to have an impact on what we were experiencing as it related to environmental injustice. And that's kind of why this map looks a little bit more like a cartoon. And you can see the Indian River Lagoon here. And the reason why I wanted the Indian River Lagoon to be a defining characteristic of this particular photo is because many communities that are experiencing environmental justice in the way that South Melbourne is having this experience are communities that live on major watersheds. And we don't realize that the effects to not only the species in our lagoon. I always say that people care about the fish and the manatees and the species in the lagoon dying, but I prioritize my neighbors and my friends and my family members as well, because when the species in the lagoon die, so do the people in my community. So if we're going to be fighting for the lagoon, remember that we're also fighting for the human lives that are directly impacted by the toxicity that is also affecting the species in that river. So we have to be fighting together for both life. All life matters, the life in the river and the life on the land. And if we don't figure it out together, then we're all going to go together. We will all perish together. And what affects the watershed doesn't just affect the people that live along the watershed, but it has long-term ramifications for people living inland. Because in case you haven't noticed, sea level is rising, the climate is changing, and while we currently live on the watershed, soon those people living inland will be living on that watershed too. By 2050, that water will be inland, and there will be millions of climate refugees that are moving away from water. So we have to think about how we are affecting the environment as a whole and work together to address those issues, which is largely what Little Growers' work is focused on. So we've talked about environmental justice. We've talked a little bit about climate, which we'll talk about more. I want to talk about food justice and food sovereignty, which is really where my work started. And I have some really awesome definitions from a food advocate that I know and love very well. Her name is Tasha X Phoenix, and she works on food justice and food security in St. Louis, Missouri, through her organization, the Food Equity Advisory Board. And her definition for food justice is a process whereby communities most impacted and exploited by our current corporate controlled extractive agricultural systems shift power to excuse me, to reshape, redefine, and provide indigenous community-based solutions to accessing and controlling food that are humanizing, fair, healthy, accessible, racially equitable, environmentally sound, and just. I think that when I think about food justice, the portion of this definition that is so important to me is the ability to control where our food comes from. And if we can control how our environment is being impacted and control the food that we're taking into our bodies, the long-term ramifications of having healthy food in a healthy environment equal out to prosperity, equal out to unity across communities, equal out to healthier economic sustainability for communities. So controlling food leads me to this definition of what is food sovereignty, which is how we rethought our work to not just affect environmental justice, but be at that intersection of food, climate, and environment. So food sovereignty is the framework going beyond access to ensure that our communities have not only the right, but the ability to have community control over our food, including the means of production and distribution. So I talked to you some about climate justice and how all of these things intersect. And it's important because without climate justice, there's no environmental justice. There's no food justice. When Hurricane Irma hit us in 2017, all of the toxicity, the preponderance of corporate pollution that is leaking into our streets, that in that flood water, and that flood water then went into the Indian River Lagoon. It not only caused toxicity to our community, our kids were playing in those flood waters. The species in the lagoon were impacted by those flood waters. So why I keep reiterating that these things are intersecting and they're so important, because if we don't work together to find solutions that meet at these intersections, then we cannot fix this problem of environmental justice or climate justice or even food justice and food security. We have to be thinking about how these intersections come together and how we can work together as a community to design solutions that address those intersections. So this is to the right, you'll just see some pictures of some flooding that actually took place here in South Melbourne. The two flood pictures at the bottom, the one to the left with the car, is actually flooding that happened 2 weeks into Hurricane Irma. This is on Northview is the name of the street, which is between Doretha Fields and Florida Avenue in the Powell Driscoll subdivision. So as you can see, the floodwater was so deep that this person's car actually got stranded and it's shut down. And then to the right, which is a little blurry, this is actually directly in front of the house where I was living on Washington Street. And the water was about up to my thighs, I would say. And you see in the top corner here, this is Colbert Circle. This is a picture after Tropical Storm Faye. So you can see how desperately the flooding is impacting this community and when flooding occurs. And I'm going to go ahead and skip this video. This talks about some of the flooding that is also happening in West Cocoa with a project that I'm working on with the Brevard Sea Grant and Stetson University. We are looking at trying to mitigate some of the flooding that is occurring in West Cocoa through green infrastructure design and environmental justice initiatives, because these people are dealing with climate trauma. They are so accustomed to having up to 7 feet of water in their homes during heavy rain that they have just learned that when it rains, it's time to put your bed up on bricks. That's not normal. That is trauma. And that is what happens when we don't address justice, the justice of climate, the justice of environment, the justice of security, right? So what Little Growers has been doing to address these things, and I'm very excited because you've heard all of the trauma, you've heard what all the definitions, right? So let's talk about solutions. And that's what Little Growers is all about. And the work that I am doing is all about as a climate and environmental justice leader here in Brevard County. Our work is focused on educating youth, but also helping our community come together in a way that addresses the issues that we're facing. So we started what we call Make a Green Noise. Make a Green Noise is this dynamic initiative designed to raise awareness, advocate for policy change, foster community engagement, and address environmental justice concerns while promoting sustainable practices and climate resilience. And I will tell you the truth. I'm very much a Christian. I believe that God delivers me everywhere I need to be. I never knew that I was going to be a climate or environmental justice leader. One day I just showed up, and that's what he told me I was supposed to do. And I went to sleep one night and I woke up the next morning and I wrote this down, Make a Green Noise. And that is what came out of this. So we've actually had 5 Make a Green Noise workshops here in South Brevard County, and I'm sorry, Central Brevard and South Melbourne. And we've done so far 2 community listening workshops in West Cocoa. And these workshops have gone through a range of topics related to climate and environmental justice issues and allowed us to engage universities, scientific experts, the American Geophysical Union, Thriving Earth Exchange, a wide range Place SLR, which maps flooding throughout the nation, Climigration Network, which helps communities address climate migration and future solutions to climate, what's the word for it? Refugees, right? So we've had the opportunity to bring in a wide host of experts and had them sit with local community residents and stakeholders in this range of workshops. We started with the Urban Sustainability Workshop, which was a Zoom call that took place in January of, I want to say 2021, which was our first workshop, which basically was a listening session. We sat with Melbourne residents on a Zoom call during COVID. There was about, I want to say 38 residents on the call, just asking them what were their concerns related to environment and climate justice. And we used that workshop as a tool to develop the rest of the workshops that we did to educate the community about things that they wanted to learn so that they can then go out and be solutions designers and be advocates for climate and environment in their own right without thinking of it as an impossible issue that they couldn't fix on their own. We wanted to design a space where they can create small solutions that they can implement, that they can go to their policymakers and advocate for, that they can go to city council and local government officials and have educated conversations with them about the issues that they were directly impacting them. So when we had our first Make a Green Noise, it was actually all about talking to them about, here's what we discovered. We have all of these toxins in our community, and here's what you should be afraid of, versus here's some things that maybe shouldn't worry you as much. And we answered all of their questions. And then in the next Make a Green Noise, we talked to them about the solutions that we wanted to help them design: green infrastructure projects, continued Make a Green Noise forums to keep them educated about changing climate and environmental justice issues. And then we talked to them about sea level rise, because they asked us about sea level rise. And in our most recent forum, which took place at FIT and had, I believe, over 75 people in attendance, we talked about a just transition to clean energy. So this was a part of our solutions design as an organization. Little Growers really wanted to focus our work on collaborating with organizations like the South Brevard NAACP, the Indian River Lagoon National Estuaries Program, Florida Institute of Technology, the University of West Florida. We wanted to work with all of these groups to get our community educated about how they can be active participants in designing solutions for environment and climate all at the same time. And please let me know if I'm over time. But
just time to sum it up.
Okay, I'm at the end. And then the other thing that we're doing is Little Growers is working very hard on green infrastructure design. We are currently designing a permaculture design food forest in South Melbourne that will focus on not just addressing flooding in our community, but will also address food security, will also address remediation of our groundwater and our soil in our community, will help to clean our air quality. I mean, just think all of the things that you can do just by planting plants. So I know that I've talked a lot, and I'm sure that you have a lot of questions, but I just wanted to share with you all of the wonderful work that we have been doing within our community in conjunction with our community and great other environmental and climate organizations to really address environmental justice, and encourage you to join us in that process. Our next Make a Green Noise Forum is going to be October 27th. It will be held at what we lovingly call the Grant Street Gym, but some of you know as the Joseph N. Davis Community Center here in Melbourne on Grant Street. And we look forward to having you join us and learn more about environmental justice and the work that we're doing in the community to address that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Camille. We appreciate that. Thank you so very much. It's a lot to learn. I come from a heritage of, well, I've come from a rural area here in Florida still, and I recall coming up where everyone grew vegetables and fruits and that sort of stuff, peas and okra and watermelons and all that sort of stuff. And the water quality, we had our own pump, I guess you call it a pump, whatever, they drill down and get your own water. We had fresh, clean water from a spring, you know, it's nice and cool, just like the water you spend money on spring water. So that was fortunate. We didn't have very much else other than a good living out in the country, you know, in the rural area. I come down here, and in the recent years, I'm learning about more about the lagoon and the all the different things that's happening to our environment, and I'm intrigued by it. I'm concerned about it now. So I recall when I first moved to Brevard County, we used to go right on the river, and clams, and not clams, but oysters. People would look for oysters and pop them on the grill. The water was clean, it seemed cleaner back then anyway. So things have changed considerably, and programs like this that you're providing and helping young people to understand about the environment and how to change their sources of the way that they eat and the way that they acquire their food is wonderful. I think that's the service to community, great service to community. So I'm not as as engaged, or well, I shouldn't say I'm not engaged, but Phil usually has some type of wisdom to add to that. But I'm stepping into big shoes today by trying to follow through, Phil. So I'm going to open up the floor for anyone who has questions, and remember that well, if you wouldn't mind, I think you should have access to chat because you were able to screen share. Could you put your information in chat about the upcoming events that you were talking about? I think she has access to chat, I believe, because you did have screen share. So does anyone have any questions for Camille today? And I thank you so much, Camille. You're very knowledgeable. So anyone have any questions? Okay, so I see one hand. That's Bonnie so far.
What I have to do is go to the website. There's so much information.
It-
Will the events and all be listed on the website, Camille?
Yes, so
Okay.
the events will be listed on the website. I'm re-putting it. It's
Yeah.
.org, but I think I put a comma there. So it's
It's okay.
www.littlegrowersinc.org.
Little
And
girls.
it is a lot to take in. Like I mentioned earlier, our communities, we can't just have a conversation about environmental justice because there are all these things together, and communities like ours are dealing with multifaceted issues. So finding a way to address them together is really, I had a university professor tell me, Camille, you're at the intersection of food, climate, environment, and economic sustainability. And that's just where we need everybody to be.
Camille, it's wonderful to know that you are doing this, and it's got to be built on by the different organizations and expand, but it's needed so badly. And thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay, we have, I don't want to mispronounce your name. I'm going to say Rumika.
Rumika.
Okay.
Yes. Good evening again, everyone. Good evening, Camille. I have a question. You talked about a lot of the things or disparages in the communities, the diesel fuel from the bus compound, the waters. Are any of these things legalities that your organization is facing as far as having laws that need to be changed, or or does change come about through basic education? Do we need to have certain ordinances, or do we need to fight for certain ordinances? Do we need to fight for certain laws, or does change come about with education, or both?
I think both. Largely the political side, the creation and identification of how we want to address the legalities behind it. I don't know if I shared, but I'm also the South Brevard NAACP's Environmental Justice Chair, and we partner a lot with them on the work that we're doing around environment. One of our initiatives for this year is to really decide what steps we want to take towards addressing this in a legal manner. And we have been talking to some environmental lawyers. We're looking to work with them to see how we move that forward. One of the things that I would say is really important is looking at zoning. In Northeast Palm Bay, in the Powell Driscoll subdivision, it's zoned as light industrial. And this is a fully developed community in a city that is only 60% developed. So we have to think about how do we prevent future industrial movement, because we can't kick the people out who've already moved there, but maybe we can talk to the city about rezoning in a way that doesn't allow more toxicity to move in. So those are some of the things that you think about and we learn about at Make a Green Noise. So I would encourage you to attend in October and see how you can take action and be a part of that movement as well.
Okay, thank you, dear. And I see Janice. You have your hand up, Janice?
Yes, just a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good. That brings me to the clean water campaign that Tom was talking about earlier. Do you have anything to do? Are you working in conjunction with them? Because their goal is to be able to get a petition approved that would actually put some teeth into the regulations that are being ignored now about clean water. Right now, there's a lot of laws in place about clean water, but nobody's enforcing. And that's what the whole clean water campaign is about. What is your position with clean water, the campaign?
I actually haven't been directly engaged with the clean water campaign. I've worked with some groups across the nation that have been working on clean water acts at a federal level, but not here locally. But I am very interested to learn more. My work is really community focused because I'm just seeing the direct impacts to residents and wanting to give them the tools to be a part of taking action. So being able to educate them about Clean Water Acts. I know that one of the things that we did at the last Make a Green Noise is we had residents sign petitions. So we actually create opportunities for them to take actionable steps. So if the Clean Water Act, if I could learn more about that and collaborate with them, then that might be an opportunity for some of the residents in our community to get educated about the Clean Water Act and how they can participate in pushing that initiative forward as well.
Anyone else have any questions? I want to say one. Oh, Larry, go ahead, Larry.
Well, just in reference to water, Melbourne water is kind of intermediate. It's not the worst. It's not the best. I'm not going to go in terms of environmental justice. I'm from Detroit, and I think I need to only mention the word Flint to people that are knowledgeable. I don't have time to go into it, but that was one of the worst environmental justice clean water crises in this country. But in Detroit, when they tear down neighborhoods, and they have enormous food deserts in Detroit. You didn't use the word food desert, but that's where, your nearest produce store is even much further away than what you would have here in Melbourne. And they have, in the space of torn down buildings, they have built gardens and fields for the residents. So there's a lot of that going on in the vacated neighborhoods in Detroit. But my question about that growing is, in growing Florida with the population coming in, how do you get the land to grow on at that, and then the second question is in relation to New Orleans, which is a huge environmental justice issue because who got flooded? How do you mitigate the possibility of for some neighborhoods getting flooded?
So I'm going to start with your first question. We Little Growers gets land because we really rely on our collaborative network. We are a collaborative commitment organization. So our land is in partnership with the churches in our community. We have about just under half an acre that we're leasing from Macedonia Community Development Coalition. Charles Jackson of Jackson Electric and Melbourne Roofing is leasing us a full acre on W.H. Jackson Drive and Lipscomb Street. A lot of the land that we work with, like the community that we're working with in West Cocoa, is just groups that we've always been working with. The Brevard Sea Grant, that's a university that said, hey, Camille, we need little growers to come in and help us engage the community and hear what they want to see happen. And that leads me to the answer to your next question. Sometimes there is no mitigation. We know that a lot of communities are going to be underwater and there's nothing that we can do about it. And it's a conversation that is hard to have, but these are going to be climate refugees. So the next step, and always for me, the primary step is to get educated. I largely work with an organization called the Climigration Network and Buy-In, which are organizations that educate communities about climate migration. And I'd rather us be educated about the possibility that we have to migrate, and have communities be educated about the possibility that they might have to welcome new members to their community, than just say, hey, well, we'll just wait and see what happens. We'll just take on the flooding. That's not an option. And we have to know what all the options are. A lot of times we don't know until it's too late, or FEMA comes in and says, you have no choice. We have to buy you out. This is a buyout. You have to move. And you've been living in your home. You own your home. You're a senior citizen. You have a stable income. You don't have any other option. But there are options, and it's important that we take the time to learn what those options are. And that's why we started doing the Make a Green Noise Forum, because we wanted communities to get educated about all the potential futures that we're facing. This is happening, and it's better that we get educated and make educated decisions about how we want to move into that future.
Thank you.
So it seems your action items are to, first and foremost, to be educated and to learn more about, what's at stake. And I commend the NAACP in South Brevard for having a committee of, this helping the community to learn more about this, and having you as a part of that. So what would you say is your action item, to just to be more engaged and to be more educated? Anything else you want to leave as an action item for us to be able to go out and share?
Yeah, for little growers specifically, we are trying to expand our reach. We're working in not just communities here in Brevard County, but we've been working in communities in Volusia. We're going to be moving into Fort Pierce soon. And in order for us to do that, we need more volunteers. We need more board members to help us develop the infrastructure and put in place the tools and resources that we need to continue to spread this education across communities and help communities design solutions that best fit their needs. There's no one fit for everybody, right? So don't just get educated, but talk to the people that live there. Learn about the species that are living in your watershed. You can't really know what's happening until you know the people who are on the front lines of this, who are directly experiencing it. And soon they might be your neighbors. Like I told Larry, soon they might be your neighbors. So come out and get to know us and be a part of the work that we're trying to do. Help us grow this work, because it's so important. Little growers, like I said, we're always looking for volunteers. We're always trying to grow our resources and looking for sponsorships. And our work is largely fundraising and grant funded and sponsorship funded. And we have to continue to push this education to our kids, because they're the ones we created this problem for them. So they're the ones that are going to have to face it.
Are you
we need to prepare them for it.
Wonderful, thank you. And I want to thank you again. I didn't see any more questions, but I want to say to you again, thank you. This has been enlightening. I appreciate you being on tonight. And I hope that we can, those of us that are here will go out and share this this information. And maybe from this event here, maybe we can find some people who can help, or who can give you some, turn you on to somebody else who could help, however, because as you can see, most of us here are not quite in the younger age, but we might know somebody who we could turn on to you and get out and help you with this in the community. So I want to thank you again. As Phil always says, at this time we probably somebody's unmuted, but at this time, we normally, if we were in person, we'd be giving you a standing ovation, a wonderful applause. So we'll just say thank you and give you applause, and hope that in the future, something good will come from this. We hope we'll keep a connection with you in the future.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you so much, Space Coast Progressive Alliance.
Thank you
For having me. I hope I didn't overwhelm you with all the information. Just
No,
know
you
that the bottom line is you can do something about this. It just takes small steps. It just takes reaching out, make a donation to an organization that's doing this work. That makes a huge difference in the work that we're doing to make this change happen. So you can make a difference, small steps.
I see Riot's come back on, but we want to remind you too that of our next program coming up on May 2nd, which is entitled Voucher Vultures Devouring Public Schools. So we hope that you all can join us for that program. We've already got some speakers set up, and we hope to have some more, but this is something that's very important to us in the in our school systems, saving our public school system. It's under scrutiny right now, so we hope that this program will enlighten you all to some of those things happening too, the legislations and all that's devouring our public schools. And if there's anything else, if anybody else has anything else to say, please let it be said now. I see, Raya, did you want to say anything before we end?
Oh, thank you. I was listening. I apologize. I had to step out of the picture, but very informative. Hopefully we can all pitch in and share all this information. Both presentations were
wonderful.
Great. And we appreciate both their time
here. But we want to thank her too again for a wonderful presentation on the Bright Line and all the different things that's happening with that. So if there's nothing else, I just want to say to everybody that's here tonight, thank you for being here. Continue to support the SCPA. If you're not a member, please join. It's not very expensive. Believe me, I'm out there in a lot of community groups, and our fees are not, our dues aren't that bad. It's $25 for per person, or $35 for family. So if you're able to join us. And we can always use volunteers. We have a wonderful action projects committee that puts these things on. We go out and find wonderful people like Camille here and Yvonne, and we bring information to you. And we want you to share it with the community. That's what we do. We bring information that's important to us, that enlightens the community. So if there's nothing else, if nobody else has anything to say, I want to say thank you again for everybody, and this will be the end.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening, everyone.
All right, take care.